Welcome to episode 45 of Think Big with Michael Zellner. All positive, no politics. My guest today is Cameron Kinley. Cam is a United States Naval Officer and a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy with a BS in Political Science and Government. He played varsity football at Navy and was captain of the football team his senior year, and he was also president of the class of 2021 at Navy too. He is a public speaker and is motivating people all over the country to show if you want something, if it's possible, you go after it and you can get it. Welcome to the show, Cam.
Hey, I appreciate you for having me. I'm excited to be on here.
Thank you very much. So tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Something interesting about me. I try to teach myself how to play the piano, keyboard specifically, but I've been doing it since I was a kid. I get on YouTube and look up some tutorials. And for me, it's kind of a way to continue to learn something over time, to continue to challenge my brain a little bit. So whenever I'm feeling stressed, whenever I've had a long day, I usually come home and just start messing with the keys a little bit, trying to find some melody. So a lot of people don't know that.
Does it help you?
Oh, 100%, 100%. It's just like the challenge of trying to learn how to play without going through lessons. And once you finally get it down and you can hear yourself playing it, it's pretty cool. It's pretty rewarding. And then you just go to the next song and do it all over again. So it helps me out a lot.
That's awesome. So, Cam, you grew up in Memphis and you went to school at PDS and St. Dominic, and then you went to high school at Lausanne. Who are a few teachers and coaches that made a positive impact and, a strong positive impact on your life that you remember during those years?
Yeah. At PDS, I had a fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Love. She was an amazing teacher, one of my favorite teachers that I've ever had. And she just showed that passion as a teacher. And that was one of the first instances in school where I saw somebody who really showed up every single day and loved what they did. So she probably doesn't even realize how big of an impact that had on me, but that was huge. And then also at PDS, Coach Spain, Coach Brady, those are some of my first role models through that school and getting me rooted in the Bible a lot. PDS is a Christian boys school, so they helped start my faith, grow my faith. And then transitioning to Lausanne, Dr. Graham was definitely the most impactful teacher I had there because she challenged me to think outside of the box a lot and challenged me to not see things from my perspective. And I think that helped me a lot, especially when I got to college. So those are kind of like the teachers that had the most impact, and all the coaches that I had at Lausanne had a huge impact on my life for sure.
You said, quote, especially when I was younger, I was often the only Black kid in class. At PDS, that was the norm. At St. Dominic, in advanced classes, I was the only African American. It motivated me to work harder. I wanted to be the best in the class, no matter who I was, unquote. Did you feel like that you had a lot to prove to yourself?
In the beginning, yes. It was very uncomfortable for me. So I was in public school for kindergarten and first grade, and I was doing really well there. And one of my teachers told my mom that she should look into sending me to some of these other schools. And when my mom did that, I was one of the only kids that looked like me. And I told her, I said, I don't think I want to be here. But she just kept me in there and she said, you'll thank me later. And what she was doing was she was teaching me how to get comfortable being uncomfortable at a young age, and that it doesn't matter the color of my skin. It doesn't matter about my background. I have the same capability to perform like the rest of these kids. And so for me, that was just the chip that I carried on my shoulder for education. It was like, yeah, I was a good athlete growing up, but I also want to show people I'm a scholar too. And I'm going to compete with you in the classroom the same way I compete on the field. So that definitely helped me a lot.
You were a star athlete in football and track at Lausanne. What do you believe that sports teach you about life? What did it teach you about life in high school?
That's that's a loaded one, man. So I've been playing sports since I was 4. And now that I don't play football anymore, I'm starting to see a lot of the lessons and values that I've taken away from the game. Number one, it just teaches you how to deal with adversity, especially because there's a lot of things that don't go your way in the game, whether it's referees calling penalties, coaches not calling the plays you want them to call, or you're just not playing well. And so for a kid, it just teaches you how to respond. It teaches you to develop a work ethic. And it also teaches you how to be a teammate for other people. And that just extends outside of sports. That's in life, knowing how to work well with people in the world and even be a leader for these people, how to inspire them and just build that team culture. That's something I'm definitely taking with me in the military now is how can I take the enlisted personnel that I work with and develop a culture to drive performance. And I definitely got all of that from sports.
You've talked about how at an early age your parents instilled in you never to be comfortable, going with the crowd. Your mother, Candace, said, quote, Cameron's always been a different kid. Cameron always from a young age just stood out. He always was inquisitive. He always asked a lot of questions, unquote. Do you feel early on in life that you had the capability of being a leader?
I didn't. It was just honestly something I didn't think about. Just as a kid, you don't really think about being a leader. You just think about doing the right thing. I think I first started realizing I was a leader when I got to high school at Lausanne, when we started the program my freshman year, and we're kind of trying to build and develop a culture and start winning games. And as a freshman, I realized I got the respect from some of the upperclassmen. And then as I started to get some underclassmen under me, I saw that they started to gravitate towards me as well. And I would ask myself, like, why do they care about what I have to say so much? And I realized that over time, choosing the right thing over the bad thing more times than not, that kind of compounded over time and just developed my character towards somebody that people could look up to. And once I realized that people were looking up to me, then I took on the leadership role, and I took it very seriously because I knew that I had that influence and I had to use it for the right reason. So I didn't understand it when I was a kid. It was just about making the right decision, doing the right thing. And then once you start realizing people are watching you, it's like, oh, okay, I got to keep doing the right thing. Don't start doing anything different because people are following you.
Tell us a little bit about your parents.
Two amazing people. I always tell people that my parents' sacrifices that they made for me and my siblings was really what motivated me all the way through college. So I got 3 siblings, an older brother, older sister, and a younger brother. Like I said, my parents moved us from public school, put us all in private school. And we didn't have a lot of money. They just sacrificed a lot to be able to do that. And once I realized they were making that sacrifice, my dad working the grave shift, I really only saw him at football practice, and then he'll be off to work, and then I'll be at school during the day when he was at home. And so we kind of developed our relationship through football. He coached me since I was 4 all the way through high school with some gaps for middle school. But I saw his work ethic, I saw his sacrifice, and I saw my mom deciding to go back to work instead of staying at home and doing some of the things she wanted to do just to put us in the best position to succeed. And so those sacrifices that they made really motivated me to make sure that they weren't in vain and to take complete advantage of everything at the schools that they sent us to, so they wouldn't have to pay for college or worry about me once I got out of college. So 2 hardworking people instilled a lot in me, taught me how to be a young man, and continue to develop me today. And they keep it real with me. You know, they're my biggest cheerleaders, but they're also my biggest critic because they see all the potential in the world. And man, I appreciate them for that.
Wonderful. Quote, I understood at a young age that life was bigger than myself, unquote. You're 17 years old, you're a senior in high school, you get offers to go to, to the best of the best, including Yale, Harvard, and Princeton. And, you made the choice to attend the United States Naval Academy. What main reasons led you to that decision?
Yeah, that quote you just said is bigger than me. I visited most of the Ivy League schools, visited all the service academies. And I thought I was going to go to Princeton. I had my official visit to Princeton the second week of January after Air Force. And I was like, as long as I like it, I'm going to commit. I had already visited earlier that summer. And so this was just kind of my confirmation. That's why I thought I wanted to go. But when I got up there, I just didn't feel at home. I didn't feel right. And it was nothing against Princeton. Princeton is a beautiful school, amazing institution. But I just felt that I was going there because of the name. I was going there because it was going to kind of start to feel comfortable, like it was a normal type of place. And then I went to I visited the Naval Academy, and I'm not going to lie and say this is where I wanted to go. But when I stepped on that campus, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I knew I could develop as a man. I knew I was going to be uncomfortable. I knew I was going to develop as a leader. I knew that I was going to be able to serve our country and give back in that manner and be a part of that prestigious fraternity. And just being able to play football at a high level as well and be challenged academically. It was the full package that I couldn't pass up on. And as an 18-year-old, that's a tough decision to make, to go to a military school instead of going to a civilian school. And sometimes I look back and it's like, did I make the right decision? You know, you start hearing people talk about all the stuff they did in college, but without a doubt, I wouldn't be the man I am today if I didn't go to the Naval Academy. And I'm loving my job in the military. I'm loving living the lifestyle that I live. It's challenging at times, but I can already see the full picture, and I know that everything is going to work out how it's supposed to.
You know, it's the summer of 2017. You leave for Annapolis, Maryland, you know, where the Naval Academy is located. You know, that's exciting in itself, but there's more because you're also about to be playing Division I college football. What was going through your mind at the time?
Yeah. So going into high school, I was undersized and didn't know if I was going to be able to play college or not. Well, I always thought I was, but my dad, he sat me down after my sophomore year and was like, son, I'm not going to lie to you. Like I said, they were my biggest cheerleader, but my biggest critic. He said, if you want to play college football, you're going to have to turn some things around. And he knew that because he played college ball. My older brother played college ball. So he knew what it took to get there. And I had to trust in him and listen. And so putting in the work, and I was able to get the opportunity to play in college. And now that was my goal. You know, like I said, my parents made the sacrifice. I wanted to use football to get into the best institution possible. I was like, what happens in college happens in college. But as I started to approach college more, the time got closer. It was like, I'm competitive. I want to play. And the nerves were high, you know, and going to the Naval Academy is a unique experience. You don't go straight into football workouts. You go through basic training for 6 weeks. And so I'm up there in basic training. And I remember I'm there like first week, write a letter home. And I tell my parents, I'm not staying here. I said, I made the wrong decision. This is not the place for me. Like, don't worry. I said, I'll finish basic training, but I'm coming home after that. My dad wrote me back a letter that I still have today. And it had Jeremiah 29:11 in it. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. And that right there kept me at the academy. Reading that and trusting and remembering why I even committed to the Naval Academy was because I knew it was a part of the plan. And so I was nervous, got out of basic training, got into my first fall camp for football, and didn't really feel like I belonged. Felt like, you know, kind of looking down on myself, not really competing like I should have been, like knocking my talent down. My confidence level just wasn't there. But as I started to make a couple of plays, I started to get my feet settled in, and then the rest is history from there.
You know, while you're playing football at Navy, mindfulness coach Greg Graber here in Memphis taught you a breathing technique. Tell us a little bit about that and how it helped you.
Yeah, that was huge for me. It was kind of the summer before my senior season that we connected. And he had been at Lausanne, but he was really a part of the middle school. So we didn't have a chance to develop a relationship as much. But after I graduated, we started getting into contact more. And so I read his book, and the number one thing that I took away from his book, it was this breathing technique. It was like faith over fear, right? You breathe in for 3 seconds, and you're in your head, you're telling yourself faith. You hold your breath, and then you breathe out fear for 3 seconds. And so I started doing that before every game. And this was after the BYU game. So the second game of the season, we're playing Tulane. I'm doing it in the locker room before the game. I'm doing it on the field. And we're losing like, I think 28-0. And Tulane's going in to score again before the half. And things are getting nervous, but before every snap, I'm doing this breathing technique. And I got my first collegiate interception. And what I remember about that game specifically after practicing the mindfulness is never being worried, never feeling anxious, never worrying about the scoreboard, never worrying about, oh, am I good enough to be out here? Like everything just started to flow easier. And that was one of the better games that I had my senior year. So Dr. Graber, his mindfulness techniques are huge. A lot of people don't believe in it. The mindfulness in general, not just him, I'm just saying mindfulness in general. They think it's cliche, but I think when you actually practice it and realize the peace that you can get in your mind to be in the moment, that's what I think it's all about, learning how to be in the moment. Your performance, it just excels tremendously and you'll blow your mind. So I definitely recommend everything that he teaches.
People that don't believe in, all I have to say is, you know, look what Phil Jackson did with the Bulls using it.
Right.
Look at LeBron James using it.
All of them do it, man. All of them do it. They get into this. I took a psychology of leadership class, and it's called a state of flow. And those who are at the top of their game in their industries, they know how to get into that flow at any given moment. And I think once you learn how to master that and what helps you get in the flow, you'll be surprised at how much you accomplish.
I agree. You had 3 daily planners that were almost, were full of almost every minute of the day. It was accounted for when you're in college. Most college students, they have a hard enough time just making it to all their classes, and you were on top of everything you did. Starting at 6:30 in the morning. Did you come up with that idea yourself?
I did. At the academy, they give you a planner, but one planner wasn't enough for me because I was putting everything in there, and then I started missing out on certain things. And I'm a big advocate of like separating areas in your life, right? So separating work from home, and when you're in school, separating school from athletics from personal life. And so I said, I got to do the same thing. So I had one thing for athletics, I had one thing for school, and I had one thing for like personal leadership roles that I was in at the school. And what that did for me was when I looked at my academics planner, it was academics. I'm focused on academics. I'm not worried about watching film. I'm not worried about any meetings I need to do, none of that. It's like academics. Do what I got to do for the day. Now I'm on to the next. I'm looking at stuff I got to do for football, watch this film, stretch, whatever it might be, treatment, boom, knock that out. Now I'm looking at, okay, personal life, okay, Bible, meetings I got to do for being class president, like all those extracurricular things. And my life just started to be a lot more organized, and it clicked a lot more. And that might not be the solution for everybody, a planner, but I think what that did was it helped me with my discipline. It helped me with my time management. And from there, I was just organized and everything was clockwork. And it was like I was just a machine. And every day it was just, you don't think about it. Like it's just behavior, it's habits. And so I think that helped me out a lot.
What did the other players that saw those planners, did they have any comments about, did it influence anybody else to do that? Or was it just like, no, that's just your thing?
Yeah, I really don't even think a lot of people knew I kept 3 planners until I think I said in like an interview or something, but they kind of just saw me just trying to reach success in every area of my life at the academy. It's a very tough place academically, and everybody doesn't have the same mindset towards academics that I had. But for me, it was like, I want to excel in every area. So I'm gonna make sure I'm getting the good grades in the classroom. I'm gonna make sure I'm making plays on the football field, and I'm still gonna be involved in the school and the community outside of academics and football. A lot of people just didn't have that mindset. Some people just want to focus on football. Some people want to focus on school. Some people just want to have a good time. And there's nothing wrong with that, all right, to each his own. But for me, the way my parents raised me, I was always taught to be seen more than the athlete, seen as who I am as a person. So I had to make sure that was known.
You said, quote, you want to know the secret to happiness, stop being a Cowboys fan. It's funny, in some ways true. Who are you a fan of? Who's your favorite team?
I was a Cowboys fan. That's why I'm saying that, because let me see, my grandmother's a Cowboys fan. And so I think I picked them up when I was like 7 years old. Tony Romo was there. And I just remember the heartbreak in the playoffs every year. Or supposed to make the playoffs and we lose the last game to like the Giants. And it's like, it's just tragic after tragic. And then as I got to college, like we actually started having good teams. And it's like, oh, we're projected to go to the Super Bowl. And we just never were able to accomplish it. So I think 2020 was when I was like, I'm done being a Cowboys fan. And my life is, I can watch football on Sunday and not feel any pain now. So I appreciate that. I don't have a favorite team right now. I guess you could say Buccaneers by default. I still know some of the guys down there, so I cheer for them. But I kind of just watch football as a fan now, so it's pretty enjoyable.
I always go back to what, watching Stephen A. Smith on, First Take, and he talks about how the Cowboys just figure out a way to get in their own way.
Every time they're going to figure out a way to lose. The other team doesn't have to do too much. Just don't worry. It's not, they're going to do something. They could be up 30-0 and they're going to figure out some way.
Exactly. Do you have a few games at Navy that stick out the most in your career?
Most definitely. SMU, my junior year, game was on the line. I was lined up against James Prochet, plays with the Ravens now. 4th and goal, senior night. I think we're up 4 points. And I get the PBU in the end zone and we just run the rest of the clock out. So being able to get that win for the seniors was big for me. SMU, my sophomore year, that was my first game starting down there at SMU. That was another good experience for me. It was kind of cool. We played on ESPN too, and I wasn't really thinking about during the game, But after the game, I looked at my phone and all like my friends from back home were texting me saying they saw me and stuff. So that was pretty cool because it kind of like opened my eyes like, oh yeah, like we are playing big time football. I think Army Navy, every Army Navy game was fun, but Army Navy 2019 when we got them, that was definitely a game that I keep forever. And then the Liberty Bowl 2019, being able to come back home, play in Memphis in front of my family, beat a Power 5 team, Kansas State. That was one of the best weeks of my life, honestly. That was very fun.
Was it different when you played against Memphis since you were from here?
Oh yeah. The Memphis games were good. Didn't mention them because I didn't beat them enough.
Right.
Went 1-3 against Memphis. But when we played Memphis in 2019 in the Liberty Bowl Thursday night on ESPN, that atmosphere was really good. It was pretty fun. It's always fun competing against those guys, and they're always talking mess from the sideline because they know who I am and whatnot. But seeing everybody after the game taking pictures with either people I played with or people I played against in high school, it was always fun. So I love seeing those guys.
I had a chance several years ago to meet Pete Medhurst. I believe it was about 2016. I had a furniture store and he was having a radio station out there, and he came out when he was in town to do an interview at the store, and had a chance to drive him back to his hotel because he needed a ride back, and got a chance to talk to him. Real nice guy.
Oh yeah. Pete is an amazing guy, and his personality is like, he has the personality that you just gravitate towards, and he always does a great job announcing our games. And we got a chance to get close over like my last couple of years at the academy. And we're still in contact every now and then through Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, Pete's a great guy. I love Pete.
Quote, a Navy athlete is like a monument. They are built strong, they represent something special, and they will stand proud and tall, unquote. Now, that is something that you said, Cam, but it's not how you were at school there. You gave a speech at PDS in 6th friggin' grade.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's crazy. It's funny because I remember that speech competition. And that speech competition was huge for me because I used to have a speech impediment growing up. I stuttered a lot. I struggled to pronounce certain words. And that was kind of the first time that I saw I had a gift for speaking. And as far as finding the topic, I was trying to find something very interesting that nobody really knew a lot about. And I was just Googling stuff. Like, I wanted to be sports related, but I wanted to be life related. And then I think it was like an article about service academy athletes. I was like, this is interesting. And then it started talking about, and I started looking up different athletes from service academies. And I knew names like Roger Staubach, David Robinson. So I was like, oh, Naval Academy. I'm going to do Naval Academy. And then I just kept doing my research, and I saw the daily schedule that these guys had and everything that they went through on top of playing sports at the highest level. I said, this is what I'm going to talk about. People that are playing the game, playing sports, but it's bigger than them. It's bigger than their life, like they're representing this country. And so that's what I gave my speech on. And then 6 years later, I ended up going to the Naval Academy. And I was just like, maybe that was a foreshadowing for my life that I didn't even understand. So yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
That's exactly what I thought about the foreshadowing part for what was to come. So that's awesome. What a great thing.
Yeah, it's almost unreal, and I still have that speech. I got the hard copy. It's at home in Memphis. I also got the digital copy on my laptop now. And I went back and read it after some time. But yeah, that's crazy.
You took your leadership skills to another level while you were at Navy. You've talked about how you worked hard to keep the younger players, to keep a positive mindset, and the importance of staying focused. You said, quote, it definitely has its challenges, but being the guy that everybody looks to during those tough times to kind of just provide the spark, provide the motivation, I embrace it. I embrace being able to mentor the younger guys in the program, not only on the football field, but off the football field, in the hall, and in the academy, unquote. You've talked about this, but you knew that this was much bigger than just football for these guys, didn't you?
Right. Yeah, 100%. And that's what I honestly tried to instill lessons in people that my parents instilled in me through teachings in faith and just through teachings in life. And it always drove me. I believe when you have something like a transcending why is what I call it. When you approach each day for something that's bigger than you, you're going to have more effort towards that. You're going to have a better mindset towards that. It's going to keep you going. And so when I kind of shifted my mindset at the academy to setting an example for people behind me to follow, I needed to do the right thing. You know, I had to do the right thing because I wanted to show them that you can do the right thing and still have fun. You can do the right thing and still be successful, still be respected, still be a guy that people want to hang out with. And that was big for me. And I really wanted them to understand that, because at the academy, as a football player, you can get labeled very quick, you know, and it is what it is. That's life, right? But you have a choice to choose how you respond to that label. You can either give people ammunition, or you can just do the right thing and choose to be a good guy. That's what I always told my teammates. Just be a good person. And if that's what you do, then I promise you there's not going to be much that anybody can say about you. And it's not just to your teammates, but it's to the people in the hall, it's to your teachers, it's to the officers, like everybody. Just be a good person. And however they respond to that, that's on them. But once you've done everything you can do, you can be at peace. So that was really big for me.
Quote, separate yourself from the people who always find a reason to reject a positive solution, but always find a way to justify negative income. Unquote. I completely agree that, it's extremely important to keep your distance from, toxic people that always seem to see the glass as half empty. What is it inside of you that keeps you so positive and you always seem to have the eye of the tiger?
Yeah, it's my faith in God. Just knowing what He has promised us, knowing that who He has called us to be, and knowing that He has already overcome the world. And so, even though life is hard, right? So I'm not going to act like I don't have my struggles. I'm not going to act like sometimes I don't get negative. Life is hard. But what I have realized is complaining about a situation, being negative about a situation has never solved anything in my life. And so rather than giving my energy towards that mindset, I try my best to channel it towards a growth mindset. And whenever something happens to me, whether it be bad, whether it be good, it's like, okay, what can I learn from this situation so that, one, I don't experience it again, and two, so I can be better because of it. And I think that comes from faith. I believe everything that happens is intentional, for a reason, for a purpose, but it's up to you to stay focused on that purpose. And when you know what God has promised you, and you know that it's not to harm you, then you have no choice but to be positive, because you know something's on the way. And that just keeps me positive, keeps me going forward. And yeah, that's it right there.
It's the fall of 2020, a lot of chaos in the world is going on, obviously, and you step up again, you're a team captain, you become president of U.S. Naval Academy senior class, and you're just the fifth African-American in history to have that honor, and the first football player in nearly 30 years. And regarding, being the class president, Stephen Comiskey, chairman of the Naval Academy's class of Council of Class Presidents, said, quote, "It's one of the highest honors that any academy midshipman or graduate can achieve. The Naval Academy is all about teaching warriors to lead other warriors," unquote. That's so great. And, so with all that excitement and responsibility, how did you keep yourself focused and grounded during that last year at Navy?
Yeah, it's tough, especially COVID, man. I know it was hard for everybody, but we definitely had our own struggles at the academy. Being on campus, really couldn't leave campus. There was a lot of mental health struggles going on. A lot of people were being negative. A lot of people were dealing with their own battles. And so for me, and I had my own battles as well, it was like, what can I do to be positive, to be a positive light for others? And I think it's all about perspective. You have people losing loved ones, people sick in the hospital on life support. And here we are at the #1 public school in the country, and we're complaining. Yeah, we can't go outside the gates and go to a Chipotle or go get Moe's or go out to a bar or something and get some drinks, but we're alive, we're well, and we're receiving one of the best educations. And after, we'll have one of the greatest honors of serving this country, right? And I try to get people to stay focused on that, stay focused on a mission. And I believe when people struggle in life, sometimes, I'm not going to generalize everybody, but it's because they've lost the vision that they once had. Everybody talks about like the mindset of a toddler, the mindset of a child who has this big imagination and believes it can be everything they want to be. But as you get older, you start to get influenced by the world, and the world kind of tells you what you can and can't do. And when you lose sight of that vision completely, you just aimlessly walk around. And so you're easily influenced. Negativity comes and attacks you and all different kinds of things like that. So I try to help other people just create a vision. And while we're at the academy, it's like, hey, I know it's hard right now, but just think about a couple months from now where we're going to be. Think about 5 years from now where you're going to be. Think about 10 years from now where you're going to be. You're going to remember this time. You're going to remember these tough times. And for me, it's like, it's really not much you can put me through that's going to make me feel like I can't do it because of everything I went through at the academy. And that's the kind of mindset that I took away from that. And I wanted other people to understand that as well. And so it was tough. It was hard, but I honestly think it made everybody come together closer. So I appreciate those times, as hard as they were, because they helped a lot of people become who they are today.
You said, quote, "You have to prepare for what you pray for," unquote. Tell us what that means to you.
Yeah, faith without works is dead. You get a lot of people sometimes where they're praying to God for something, they're asking God for something, they believe in God, and that's all good, right? That's a part of it, 100%. You got to talk to him, but you also got to work for it, right? Guys, he's not a genie. Like, you just don't open the lamp and make a wish and boom, it's here. It's like, you have to prepare for what you pray for. And it's not just preparing for it like you're putting in the work to get your business off the ground, and you're working out really hard to be a good athlete, or you're studying really hard to pass this test, but it's also who you are as a person. I believe a lot of people work on their talent, they work on the skill, but you also got to work on your character. And so when I say prepare for what you pray for, prepare your character to be able to handle the result of what God is about to give you. Because when he gives it to you and it's too heavy for you and you lose it, it's a bad feeling. And I'm saying that because I've been there before, right? Going to the NFL, the whole process was crazy for me. And I'm preparing, I'm praying to God, I'm working hard, but I can't say I was fully preparing myself, expecting what God was going to give me. And so when I finally got to that stage and I got in the spotlight, I wasn't used to it. And I hadn't been there before. I hadn't had people really congratulating me. And I got people who I haven't talked to from years, it's Instagram followers going up, likes, all this stuff is coming in, and it got to my ego. And because of that, I kind of lost my focus with God. And I lost the opportunity. And of course, there's other stuff that goes into it, but I definitely believe that's part of it. I wasn't ready for it. I hadn't prepared for it. And it took me a moment to really swallow that pill and to have enough humility to own up to that. But it's just the truth. And now I'm trying to help other people understand that you got to prepare for what you pray for, or you're going to end up how I ended up, losing it all. And that's the worst feeling to have.
You said your goal going into high school was to be able to play Division I football, and you came out of high school as a 2-star recruit and ended up starting for Navy and the team captain too. And to top that off, in the spring of 2021, you get signed as an undrafted free agent with the Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Tom Brady. Perseverance, drive, determination, and heart, probably led to all the series of events happening, in my opinion. Where does that come from inside of you?
Yeah, it's just something in me that doesn't do well with complacency. I just cannot be complacent. I'm always, and I've gotten better about not being complacent, but about just taking some time to be in the moment, be where I am. But up until that point, going to Tampa Bay, it was always like, okay, what's the next biggest thing? And so when I got to college, when I went to high school, it was like, okay, I want to go play college football. Like, I just want to put on the jersey, be a part of the team. I got to college and it's like, I just can't be on the team. Like, I need to play. I need to play. I need to be a leader. I need to set the example. And I get team captain. I'm starting games. And then I see the opportunity of going to the NFL. As a kid, of course, I always wanted to play in the NFL. I would say when I got to high school, college, I was like, if it presents itself, I'd go after it. But I wasn't too big on playing in the NFL. It was like, it is what it is. But once I saw the opportunity was there, I remember, so I lost my starting job halfway through my senior season. So the rest of the season, I wasn't really playing much. And then Army Navy last game, I played the last 2 snaps when Army was taking a knee. And that was really hard for me. I remember walking across the field and I'm thinking, man, I've been playing football for 18 years. It's no way that the game was supposed to end like this for me. But part of me was thinking, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the NFL. I was never all conference. I had just lost my starting job as a senior. It's like, what NFL team is going to want me? But I remember going home. My younger brother, he plays football at MTSU. So me and him, my dad, were just working down in the garage. And I just asked him, I'm like, do y'all think I should go try to play in the NFL? And my dad said, you don't want to have that regret. He said he had that same regret. He said he wish he would have tried for it. He said, you can live with knowing what happened when you try, but you can never live wondering what would have happened if you did try. And my little brother said the same thing. He was just like, if you're going to do it, you got to go all in. And for me right there, it was like, I want to show my little brother that this is possible. And so from there, I mean, I placed my faith in God and I worked for it. But yeah, it's just never settling. That never settling mindset, never being complacent. It just keeps driving me to go for the next biggest thing. And it's bigger than me. It's about setting an example and showing people that this is possible when you set your mind to it, no matter what everybody else is saying. Like, if you really commit to it and you prepare for it, then you can make it happen.
Did you have a chance to interact with Tom Brady at all?
Yeah, I had a couple of conversations with Tom. He's a real good guy, like real nice guy, super like. And I'm not gonna lie, when Tom was with Patriots, I had my own kind of feelings towards him.
Right.
But when you meet him, it's like, man, this is such a good guy. We sat close to each other every team meeting. And I mean, he's a really focused guy. You know, I wouldn't even want to approach him too much because it's like he has something, his mindset on one thing, and in practice he's just in a different flow. So I mean, we had some small talk every now and then, and I was like, man, it's crazy, you know, like your first year in the NFL, I was being born, and now here we are playing on the same field together. But nah, Tom, you definitely see why he's great. If you watch him practice, the approach he takes in practice obviously shows in the game, and it's special.
You know, before you get to training camp with the Bucks, you know, something, you know, kept that from happening to where the, you know, Defense Secretary of the United States, Lloyd Austin, had to get involved. You know, It's a fascinating and interesting story. And instead of me telling everyone a little bit about it and asking you questions, I'd love for you just to share it from your perspective.
Right. Yeah. So I signed with Tampa Bay May 1st. Well, so I'm gonna rewind some more. Once I decide I want to go play in the NFL, I contact the academy and I kind of let them know, hey, thinking about this. I know we have to do paperwork towards it. Just putting it on y'all's mind. And so they kind of get the process started. They tell me everything that takes place. They're like, hey, it's this policy. What happens is we put it together a package, send it off to the Secretary of Defense. Everybody will probably sign off on it, no issue, but everybody does have the right to deny it at their own personal discretion. But they were like, the year before, Malcolm Perry did it and some other guys did it, so it should be fine. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm not worried about that at all. And so I'm working out, do the pro days, and I end up getting signed by Tampa Bay. They send off the package, go down at a rookie mini camp, have a pretty good rookie mini camp, get an interception first day, get some pass breakups. So my confidence is building. I'm like, okay, you know, I might be able to do this thing. And as you know, probably know, as an undrafted free agent, like you have a mountain to climb,
right?
And so for me, rookie minicamp was really big to set an impression, and I was able to do that. And it kind of gave me, because for me, it was like, I knew once I got down there to Tampa, like it was going to be over because I'm on an even playing field with everybody else. Being at the academy, we don't have all the resources that these other programs have. So now I'm here with the same schedule, getting a good sleep, getting a good nutrition, getting a good workout. Like I was like, it's over, right? And so go through rookie mini camp, and then I got to go back to the academy for a commissioning week to graduate. And I was class president, so I was giving a speech. So there was no skipping graduation. And so I get back to the academy, Monday's all fine. And then Monday night, I think this is like May 23rd, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 22nd. Monday night, I get an email from our commandant of midshipmen, and that's the second highest ranking guy at the Naval Academy. And I'm like, this is weird. You know, he says he wants to meet with me. So I call my battalion officer, who's kind of the representative for me. So the military is like a whole chain of command. So I call my battalion officer and I'm like, hey, do you know what this might be about? And he was like, no, I don't know. So I'm like, okay. But I'm very uneasy at this point. And anybody would tell you, if the commandant wants to meet with you, it's probably not a good thing. And so I'm very uneasy. And so next day I go meet with him at about 12 or 1, something like that. And that's when the Blue Angels are all doing their little show. So everybody's super happy around the yard. It's a sunny day, Blue Angels flying. I meet him at the top floor of Hopper Hall, our newest building at the academy. And I go into the conference room, sit down with him at the table. And he just straight up tells me, he said, I called you in here today because Secretary of the Navy has denied your request to delay your commissioning. So you won't be able to go play football in Tampa. He was like, you're commissioning on Friday. This is Tuesday. So he's like, you're commissioning on Friday. So like 3 days. I'm like, man. I was like, so did he give you a reason why? He was like, no. I was like, is there like an appeal process? He was like, no. I was like, okay, thank you, sir. Because at this point, I'm in like a state of shock. It's like, It just feels unreal, right? Because after everything I just tell you, losing my starting job, well, honestly, for me, it was like going back to high school and being undersized and getting to college and going through all the different things I went through and finally building up the courage to go after a dream, and you get it right there in your hands. And then somebody comes in and takes it away, right? And it's tough because part of you is like, you kind of knew this could happen going to the Naval Academy. And I wasn't upset. Like, one of the things was that a lot of people thought I was trying to get out of my service, and that's never, ever been the case. Like, I was going to delay my commissioning and then get back in when I got done playing. So it was like, it was just very tough. I'm in a state of shock. It's like, okay, what can I do? Because it's the military. So it's kind of, when the higher ranking person says this is the case, it's kind of like, hey, that's what, you just go with it, right? That's what we're kind of taught. But that just didn't sit well with me. And so I made the decision. I called my agent right after, told him what was going on. And he was like, maybe you shouldn't graduate. I was like, we're not doing that. I was like, that's going to set a terrible, terrible image. That's not what I'm about. Like, it's not, if I don't get my way, I'm a crime pal. So I said, I'm going to commission. I'm going to give this speech. Like, that's bigger to me than playing in the NFL, for people to be able to see that. So that's bigger. And I call my parents, kind of let them know. And I tell some of my close friends, but I was like, I'm not putting it out to the public because it's commissioning week. I didn't want all this attention coming on me. It was about my class. It was about my classmates. It was about us commissioning as officers to go into the military. And so we go through the rest of the week. I'm kind of living a double life, right? Like, people are asking me, oh, how's Tampa? Oh, you can't wait to go back down there. This now I'm just going along with it. Like, oh, yeah, let's get with it. But in my heart, I'm like, man, like, I'm not even going down there. So it's really honestly tough for me, just getting training. And like, I remember like the night before graduation, I knew how I was supposed to feel, right? Because just a week before, I'm on cloud nine. I just fulfilled a childhood dream. I'm about to give a speech in front of Vice President Kamala Harris, in front of my class. Like, everything's golden. But now on the night before graduation, I felt empty. I was like, I don't even know if I can give a speech tomorrow. But I was able to give a speech. I delivered a good speech. And so that was good. Went through graduation. And like, honestly, nobody could tell. Nobody would know unless you knew. Like, nobody else really knew. And so we do that. I go back down there to Tampa on that Sunday, go get my stuff, and I go home because I didn't want to practice because they already knew. Now I'm under big Navy's regulations. You can't have another job when you're in the Navy. So I was like, I'm not about to go down there and practice, even though I'm on 30 days of vacation after you graduate. I said, I'm going to go home and figure it out. And so first week I'm home. We're trying, because training camp, mandatory mini camp is that first weekend after graduation. And so I get back home on like that Tuesday, and we're contacting my local senators. We're trying to go through the chain of command, trying to get an answer, trying to get any possible way. And it's like nothing. And at this point, some of the reporters from Tampa Bay are starting to DM me like, hey, are you still at the academy? Because I'm missing OTAs. I'm like, yeah, I'll be back. I'm not, honestly, I don't even think I replied. I just didn't say anything. And then mandatory minicamp came and things still weren't reversed. And that's when we put the first statement out. And it was just like, hey, this is what's going on. And I didn't really expect anything to happen. Like, a lot of people I was talking to, they're like, when this goes out, it's going to be a big story. Like, everybody's going to talk about it. I'm like, nobody's going to care. It's going to be like, hey, he went to the Naval Academy. He has a commitment on it. Like, nobody's going to care. But we put it out there and it goes crazy and like beyond crazy. Like, I'm doing 5 interviews a day with CNN, Fox News, Good Morning America. The ESPN app is notifying my phone and I see me on there. I'm like, oh my goodness. CNN's tweeting this and that, this and that. And then it's like, in comes the flood of negativity as well. People saying, oh, who does he think he is? Like, he signed up to do this, this, and this, which was very frustrating for me because every interview I did, I made sure to make it very clear that I was not trying to get out of my service commitment. All I was trying to do was use a policy that other people before me had used and that people in the same year were using. Air Force had 3 guys, Army had 1 guy. All of them got approved. For some reason, I was the only one, right? And I wasn't trying to make that seem like they were discriminating or anything like that. I just wanted to know why. I just wanted a simple answer because I felt like that's what, made sense to me. I wasn't trying to be a trailblazer. I wasn't trying to set a precedent. Like, This is literally like me just trying to use what has been offered to me. So I'm very confused. But as clear as I was about all of that, people are still sending me DMs and talking crazy to me, whatever. Like everything's going wild for a couple of weeks in June. That dies down after the first couple of weeks. People are still talking about it a little bit. And I start to, honestly, I'm like, okay, it is what it is. It's not getting turned around. And so at this point, I start getting ready to go back to the academy and start my TAD duties before I go to Intel school. And I think it was the end of the third week of June, I was just chilling with my friends one Friday night, and like I got a notification one of my friends came up to me. He was like, did you see this tweet? I was like, no, what you talking about? He was like, Marco Rubio just tweeted about you. To be completely honest, the name sounded familiar, but I didn't know exactly who that was. So I get on my phone and I pull up Twitter. Oh, Senator Rubio, Florida. He's like, I'm gonna write I'm gonna write a letter to President Biden about this, like this and that. And I'm like, that's interesting. But like I said, at this point, I've honestly already lost hope. So I'm like, it is what it is. But he says he's gonna do that. And so the next week is the weekend I'm about to get ready to go back to the academy. I get a call on Friday, and it's the assistant to the assistant secretary of the Navy. It's a colonel, and he tells me, hey, when you get back to the academy, we want to meet with you on Monday. So now it's like, I'm anxious the whole last weekend. I'm like, man, what is this about to be about? And so I go meet with them at the academy on Monday. They sit me down. They're like, hey, I think we found a loophole to be able to get your package up for review, like another review. And I'm like, okay, what is it? They're like, well, you got to put in this paperwork to take your commission in a way so that we can submit the package again as a midshipman so that they can review it. And we're not guaranteeing a yes, but this is kind of the only option you have. I was like, so if they say no, like, do I get my commission back? They were like, yeah. So I was like, is there anything negative that can happen if I do this? I was like, no, not really. I said, go ahead. At this point, it's like, sign my name, go ahead. I honestly don't even believe it's going to do anything. I'm like, just go ahead. And so I do that, don't really hear anything for the next couple of weeks. And then I get back, I go out of town for the 4th of July, I get back on that Monday, and I get a call from the same guy, the assistant to the assistant secretary of the Navy. And he said, hey, expect a call from the Secretary of Defense today with his decision. I'm like, okay, cool. Still not getting my hopes up. Like, I've learned my lesson about that. So I'm like, cool. And so after that, after I get off the phone, I just tweet God's plan, right? That's all I tweet, God's plan. And then a reporter from the Pentagon quoted that tweet and said, Secretary of Defense set to reverse the decision on Cameron Kinley's denial, whatever. And so now my phone's blowing up again. It's going crazy. Everybody's like, yo, congrats. Everybody's like, yo, is this real? This, that, that. I'm like, yo, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know who this is. Like, yeah, he had the verification mark, but I didn't talk to him. I talked to this guy. So he might know something I don't know, but I'm not getting my hopes up. And so I kind of go the whole day, and then I get a call from the Secretary of Defense at around 3:00. And he tells me that he's going to allow me to go down there to Tampa Bay. And then I get a DM from that reporter, and he tells me that he's an academy grad. He was like, he had to get ahead of the news. I was like, you know how reporters are sometimes. I was like, it's all good. I appreciate you. So yeah, I got a call from the Secretary of Defense. He said he turned it around. And then I got a call from the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff the next day, General Milley. And he told me, President Biden actually came to him and was like, hey, figure this out. And I mean, I got like a little statement from President Biden. I mean, obviously he probably didn't write it, but from his office, he has his signature on it. So that was pretty cool, but now everybody's celebrating on the outside, but truth be told, on the inside, I'm kind of like, oh, snap, right? Because I was working out, but I wasn't working out like I would have been if I knew I was going back to Tampa Bay, right? Like, this is the NFL we're talking about. This regular workouts aren't going to get it. And so I'm like, oh, snap. I got 2 weeks before training camp, right? Before I got, 10 days. It was like 10 days before I had to report. And I had to make a certain weight, had to pass a conditioning test. And so I'm like super nervous. So I'm going crazy, whatever. I get down there, make the weight, pass the conditioning test. But it's a different emotion being down there this time. Because when I went down there the first time, I'm just an undrafted free agent from Navy. Nobody really knows me, not really any pressure, whatever. Now, it's like people know my face. People know who I am. I'm walking around Tampa. People are knowing who I am. People are DMing. People want pictures. It's like, this is uncomfortable a little bit for me. And I start placing a lot of pressure on me, a lot of pressure. I start thinking about, oh my goodness, if I get cut, it's going to be on CNN, TMZ, the same networks that interviewed me when I was going through it. They're going to be the first ones to report it. And like, everybody's going to know. Right. And so I'm like, every day I'm just super nervous, like worried about, oh, did I do good enough? Oh my God, they're going to cut me. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And like, it took me probably a week and a half to 2 weeks to finally be like, Cameron, relax, like just settle down. Like, it's okay. Like, you're here for a reason. But I honestly think it was too late by then. And I mean, I started practicing a lot better, started making some plays, getting my confidence up, and even played a pretty solid preseason game against the Bengals. Like, had the second highest tackles, didn't give up any big plays, anything like that. So I was like, okay, I think I at least bought myself another week. And so my parents had came down to that game. My little league coach had came down to that game with his wife. And I remember the next day on Sunday, just feeling uneasy again. The same feeling I had when the commandant told me that it got denied. That's the same feeling I was having. And so we're eating breakfast or whatever, and they're all like saying they're proud of me, like talking about how far I've come. They're like, yeah, you're going to have such a good career in the NFL. Like, this is about to be huge. Like, no worries, right? And I mean, rightfully so. Like, if I was a spectator, it's like, he's not, everything's going to be good. Like, he's at least here for another week. Take my parents to the airport, tell them goodbye, hug them, tell them I'm going to see them next week. They're going to come back down for the Titans game. And probably about 10, 15 minutes after I left the airport, I'm driving back to the team hotel. And I get a call from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front office. I'm like, this is weird. Sunday's an off day. All right. I'm like, no way. Honestly, I'm like, no way. This can't be that call. And so I'm like, hello. And like, hey, how you doing, Cameron? What you up to? Like, just dropped my parents off at the airport, going back to the team hotel. And they go, well, you won't need to be going back to the team hotel. We need you to come to the facility. Yeah, we decided to release you today. You're no longer a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. And I didn't really say anything. Like, I was just sitting on the phone, just like silent. And he's like, hello? I'm like, yeah, I got you. I'll be there in a little bit. And I just hung up. And it was just like, it was that unreal feeling that I had felt, the same feeling that I felt when they told me I couldn't go play. It was just like, is this really happening right now? And honestly, I was like, God, like, are we serious? Like, are you kidding me? Like, and I this is the first, like, one of the first instances in my life where I really questioned God. I was like, what's the point of me doing everything the right way, being faithful, all this, if I'm just going to end up like this? What's the point, God? I'm like, what's the point? I'm like slamming on my steering wheel, crying, go to the facility, get my stuff. Well, actually, I left the stuff in my locker. I didn't even want any of it. Talk to the GM. He's like, oh, one day I'm going to tell my kids that I had the chance to come. Stuff you really don't want to hear in the moment. Like, looking back, right. It's like, oh, I appreciate that. It was nice. But in the moment, it's like, all right, whatever, keep that. And I just remember calling my parents, and I'm like, hey, like, I just got cut. And they thought I was playing. I was like, Mom, it was my mom. I was like, Mom, I wouldn't joke about something like this. And I'm not really in the mood to, I said, I want to drive back to Memphis today. I said, can y'all cancel y'all's flight? I'll be there to pick y'all up. And so got my stuff from the hotel, picked them up. We hit the road and we came back to Memphis. And I didn't really tell anybody. Like, my dad and my parents, they were talking to some of my family members for me. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I felt embarrassed. I felt like I came up short, disappointed. I felt like I had proved everybody right that was talking crazy. I just felt like a failure, to be honest. And I remember when the tweets started flooding in, it was like, what I remember the most, I remember the contrast. And when I got signed and when I got the approval to go back down there to play in Tampa Bay, and when I got cut. And I think that's what hurt me the most, was the amount of people I heard from when everything was good versus the amount of people I heard from when everything was bad. And I think that's what cut me. And it's honestly something that I just was able to get over a couple months ago, because what that did, when I didn't feel that same sense of love, that same sense of validation that I was depending on other people from, it made me seek that validation in any way possible, right? And so I started doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. I'm starting to see, like, I'm doing anything for attention at this point, and I'm not really following God like I could have been, because it's like I've been there before, right? It's like I follow God and this still happened to me, so why am I following him now? And I went through like a year of like some mental health struggles, really trying to figure it out. But I started speaking to kids, and every time I spoke to a group of kids or a group of adults, whoever it was, my church, whatever, I felt that same feeling that I felt when I was in the locker room getting ready to go play a game. And it gave me a sense of fulfillment. But like I continued to struggle a little bit mentally. So it's like I couldn't, sometimes it was hard for me to get up there and speak to people because I really didn't believe what I was saying. But over the past year, I've realized that everything I went through was so that I can do what I do now. And it's just impact the lives of others with my story. Impact the lives of others to say, hey, look, I've honestly been in a lot, even though I'm just 23 years old, I've experienced a lot, right? And it's, everybody has their own story. Everybody has their own versions of heartbreak and struggle. And I'm like, look, I've been that under recruited type of guy. I've been the guy who's the guy, at the academy achieving success. I've lost my starting job. I know what it feels like to take the leap of faith, and declare for the NFL draft when nobody didn't believe. And I know what it feels like to stick the landing, but then you fall, right? And so I've experienced all in between when it comes to chasing dreams. And what I got to help people understand now is a lot of people are scared to take the leap of faith because they're scared of the falling, right? And from going through the falling, I realized that the falling is honestly just preparation for you to fly one day, right? And when you understand that and you kind of just own that and you allow that to prepare you to fly, you reach heights that you never even saw before. And I'm starting to reach those new heights now. And it's not in the same manner of before, where it's like I need the attention, I need the $1 million contract. It's not any of that, but it's the impact that you have on the lives of others. It's the way that you can see you impacting people and like helping them change their mindset. And you find fulfillment through that, and everything else that you were seeking before, it comes naturally. And now you're not feeding into that. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I've taken away from everything is you're not falling when you don't ready to get to the other side. You're just preparing to fly so that you can reach new heights. And it took a long time to get there, but this is the best I felt, honestly, since I went through it. And like, I'm out here in like Washington State now, across the country, away from all my family and whatnot. And I'm like such at peace. And I'm coaching at this high school here and helping those kids out. And I'm doing my military thing. I'm intel, so I can't really say too much, but that's going good. Like I'm enjoying every aspect of my life right now. And that's what life is about, is finding that fulfillment. And now I just want to help other people do the same.
What a remarkable story. I mean, just unbelievable. I mean, what you went through. I mean, to have the, Secretary Austin and, Milley and, Marco Rubio and President Biden and all those people involved in that situation, it's just, remarkable. That's something obviously a story that you're going to tell for the rest of your life.
Oh,
amazing.
Most definitely. I appreciate that.
That's awesome. I love this quote of yours. Quote, sometimes all you have to do is take a look in the mirror and remind yourself of who you are, unquote. I think now, and you just mentioned this, you've gotten to the point where you do know exactly who you are and what your purpose is now, don't you?
Mm-hmm. And I think I think you figure out more and more every day. Some people are scared to get started because they don't have the full answer. They don't see the full picture, and that's fine. Like even me, it's like, I know my purpose is to impact the lives of others, but how I do that, it changes. Right. And so, like I said, I just started helping out coaching at this local high school here in Washington. And it's like, I've realized that's probably a part of my purpose. Like the way I feel when I'm out there coaching those kids. And it's like, I'm excited to get out there again every day. And it's not because, I want to look good as a coach. It's because, hey, I want to help these kids out and I want to see them succeed in football and in life. Right. But the only way that I was able to find that out was I took the chance to go out to the high school and talk to the coach and see if I could go coach. A lot of people won't even go make that conversation. And right. So they'll miss out on that purpose. And then they'll wonder, like, why do I not feel like I have a purpose? I have no purpose for my life. It's like, you have to go through things. Purpose doesn't find you. You find your purpose through going through different events in your life, through going in these uncomfortable situations, and that's how you figure it out. And so, I mean, every day I'm still finding out more about who I am. Like I said, I'm just 23. Hopefully I have a lot more years on this earth, but I realize I can't wait till I'm 30. I can't wait till I'm 40. I can't wait till I'm 50. Like, all I know I have is honestly today, and I hope I get tomorrow. And then I hope I get tomorrow. And then I hope I get tomorrow. But I'm going to make the most of what I have today. And that has allowed me to really figure out who I am and what I'm destined to do. And I'm excited for it. And the same thing goes in the military. Like, the way I'm able to impact people over there on that side, like, I've changed my approach. It's not, because honestly, after the whole thing happened with the getting denied and all that, it was a little bitter taste in my mouth towards the military, right? And I mean, I think rightfully so. Of course, I'm very biased, but I had to realize, like, hey, you got to let that hate go. You got to let the spite go. Like I said before, early in the podcast, like, those feelings, those emotions, that energy is not going to do anything towards you. It's not going to give you any solution. And so I've rechanneled that energy to have the same impact in the military that I have in these other areas of my life. And now I'm excited to go to work every day, versus when I was going through intel school, it was like, I'm trying to get in, I'm the first one out, right? It was just like, I couldn't stand doing it. But now it's like, I look forward every day to put on a uniform and go to work and do what I do. And it's the same thing when I go coach, I look forward to it. When I speak, I look forward to it. It's just like, I'm finding fulfillment in every area, but that's because I'm allowing myself to walk in my purpose.
I love this quote. With everything that I did, it didn't work out for me. I got cut during the preseason. A roster spot doesn't define me, though. The process does, unquote. Now, everything that you've said, I think that will lead me to, I know what the answers are going to be, but do you feel that definitely God had a reason to put you through all that to get you to where you are today?
100%. And the scary part is, just like when I got cut and I couldn't really figure out what was going on, is you don't know, right? You can't see it when it happens. And so the number one tip that I can give people is, feel what you feel. I'm not telling you to disregard your emotions, but feel what you feel, but don't stay there, right? Feel what you're going through, take in the situation, reflect, but do not stay there. I stayed there way too long. Stayed there for like a whole year, or about a half a year, about 8 months, honestly. And in that time, looking back, it's like, man, I could have been doing so much more already to help other people. I think about all the lives that I could have impacted during those months where I was still stuck in my feelings because things didn't go the way I wanted to. I had to realize that doesn't define me. The only thing that defines me is my character and who I am. Occupations will change, where you live will change, the car you drive will change, the outfit you wear will change. But what will never change is who you are, your character. That's all you have left. That's how people define you. And so, yeah, I definitely believe everything happened for a reason, but I had to allow myself to have the humility to listen to God and see what God had for me, and just trust that I was going to walk into it, and trust that he was going to allow my steps to where I need to go. And like I said, even coming out here to Washington, I was like, that wasn't a part of my plan, God, but it was a part of his for a reason. I'm starting to figure that out now too. And it's just, I thank him for not leaving me, after I turned my back on him, he didn't turn his back on me. And I'm grateful for that.
You feel like those 8 months that you went through after all this happened, though, you had to sort of give your time to heal, time to heal a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think people should disregard their emotions and just get over it, right? Like, I had to really take a look in the mirror. And it was really after I hurt some people that I loved, right? It was like, Cameron, this isn't who you are, right? And you're starting to make decisions that don't align with your character because you haven't dealt with some of the wounds that you have. I was like, you got to deal with those wounds. And I was like, God can't use you until you deal with those wounds, because hurt people, right. And I couldn't get up there and talk to people when I'm not truly healed myself. So I had to have a man-to-man conversation with myself and deal with some of the hate that I still had and some of the things that I wasn't letting go, whether it was with the Buccaneers or coaches or past relations, whatever it was. I had to let all that go because it was really causing me to impact people negatively. And that wasn't what I was about. But you definitely have to allow yourself to heal if you want to be able to walk in your purpose.
I think that quote you just said a minute ago, I don't know if you've said it before, when you said hurt people. And
Yeah.
that's true. That happens sometimes. I mean, maybe, most of the time it's not something you want to do,
Yeah,
But when you're hurt, unfortunately, sometimes you lash out and hurt other people in the process.
exactly.
We all know what's happened here, in Memphis over the last few weeks. It's been very difficult for, many people. And, but Memphis will bounce back. You said, quote, all it takes for a lot of these kids is to see that it's possible, unquote. I 100% believe that. And that I'm not alone, that it starts getting into these poor communities, into these neighborhoods, and talking to kids that many times, they feel that there's no way out, and spending time with people and guiding them and letting them know that there are people that care. And if they do want a better life, it's out there for them, isn't it?
100%. And I just look at three people, like three of the most successful people in the Black community. You look at Steve Harvey, you look at Oprah Winfrey, you look at Tyler Perry. Like those are the three that everybody always talks about. None of them came from ideal situations, right? None of them. And I mean, I was fortunate, right? My parents, they came from some struggle, and like we had our own struggles growing up, but we definitely had what we needed. And so when I speak on this, I don't want people to think that I'm disregarding their situations. Like a lot of people are struggling in Memphis. A lot of people don't have the resources, and we need to provide those resources. But I've always been a proponent, and this is everything in life. Focus on what you can control the controllables. And in those situations, kids get influenced so much at the developmental stage. I was kind of speaking about this earlier too. A child has the mind of where it imagines whatever it wants to imagine. It believes it can be whatever it wants to be, but it's also developing, right? And so as it gets older, it starts to get influenced by its environment. That's one of the biggest influence you have. And so when you have a kid that's growing up and they're seeing all the gang violence, they're seeing the drug abuse, they're seeing the alcohol abuse, they're seeing the misconduct in relationships, right? But they're also seeing some of these guys bringing a lot of money, right? They're seeing this, and it's like, oh, I want money, I want to do that too. And I'm not going to even fault the kid because that's all they know. That's right. All they've seen.
Right.
And so for me, it's like, we have to show these kids that there are other ways to be successful. But in order to get a kid to understand that, we have to go into these communities. We have to provide real resources for these kids. We have to improve our school systems. We have to improve our facilities. All this different stuff, it has to take place in Memphis, and we have to pour into that next generation, because that's where the change takes place. It's not too late when people are adults, but it's harder to get across to adults.
Right.
But when you have these young kids, and I'm saying it firsthand, like I go speak to alternative schools, I go speak to public schools, and I'm speaking to some of these alternative kids who were in alternative schools who have been in the system. Now they're transitioning back into the real world, and I'm talking to them, and I see it in their eyes that they really want to be better. They really want better for themselves. They just don't know how. And it hurts me because it's like, I see it. I see that you want it. And I know that when we leave this building, you're going to a very much different situation that I'm from where I'm going to. And so for me, the challenge is like, how can I still help that kid understand that even though you're going over there and I'm going over here, you have the same possibilities to go beyond me. It's not about being where I am. I want you to be the best that you can be. And it's in the mindset. It's in being able to see a vision for your life that's bigger than where you are right now. But we have to put those influences into the mindset so that their environment stops influencing their mindset.
I think that so many people don't realize, when they talk about it, I did a podcast the other day with some of the, some top city leaders,
Right.
you and I talked about that, through text message. I told you we start, let's make a better Memphis.
Right.
And I asked them, do you think that the city leaders are ready to do something about this? And they all said no. It's unfortunate. I know that when something happens like this, for a while, it's talked about. We talk about things that need to get done, talked about things that need to change. But then what happens? Time goes by.
Yep.
People get used to, the way their lives are again. They sort of not forget about it, but it's sort of just, they move past it until it happens again. And then it happens again. And it's time now. And you and I talked about this. We're going to talk about it further later on, for us to do something about it and to have an impact, because there are definitely people that we can impact everybody.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that we can.
Exactly. And I think that's what communities are about. I think that's what organizations are about. It's about the people. Of course, culture starts top down. I believe culture starts with the leadership, and then the people adapt the culture of the leaders, or the mindset and behaviors of the leader, and that develops the culture. But I think as a city in Memphis, I think we have the power to not wait on leadership, right? And I mean, I've been away from the city, so I don't really know all the leadership things that go on. So I'm not going to speak on that, but I do know the people, right? And I do know the organizations that we have. And I do know that we have enough good and we have enough positive to come together and create a force in Memphis that, I mean, so let's also understand bad things happen everywhere, right? I'm in Oak Harbor, Washington, and a kid got shot and killed a couple weeks ago, right? And it's like, I didn't see anybody talking about how terrible of a place it is out here. I saw everybody in this community coming together for that family, right? And I'm like, man, I wish Memphis would do more things like that. When bad stuff happens in Memphis, I get on social media and it's Memphis is such a terrible city. Memphis has no hope. Memphis is hopeless. Our leadership is terrible. Memphis is this and that. Get out of Memphis. I'm like, what is that solving?
Right.
But then as soon as the Memphis Grizzlies are good, it's like, oh, bleed Memphis. As soon as the Memphis Tigers get the number one recruit, it's like, oh, Memphis. Oh, an artist gets a number one song. It's like, oh, Memphis. It's like you can't pick and choose when you want to be Memphis. Like if you truly love the city, if you truly want to see better in the city, then give back. I'm not saying you have to live there, but you can be a part of something positive. I haven't lived in Memphis since 2017, and I'm still very involved in the community because I believe in the city, and I'm not going to give up believing in the city because that's not going to do anything, right? And I might impact 5 kids' lives. I might impact 500. I might impact 5,000, but I can know I tried. And I think if more people adopted a mindset of just trying, then we would see a big shift in the city.
100%. You know, you have a ton of great quotes, Cam, but this is, I say, one of my favorites so far. It says, quote, "The beautiful part about being the author of your own life means that you have the ability to write the next chapter, even if the previous ones didn't go as planned," unquote. I understand that, you know, down the road, one of those chapters for you could be becoming president of the United States. You know, talk about thinking big. I love it. You know, for right now, though, what does the current chapter look like for you?
Yeah, current chapter is the military for me. I'm giving my all to the military, right? I have a 5-year commitment from going to the Naval Academy. That's not me saying I'm getting out at 5. That's not me saying I'm doing more than 5. I'm just going to take it every command at a time. And so the military is getting my maximum effort right now. That's this chapter of my life. But at the same time, I'm also thinking about the speaking platform that I want to begin. You know, I'm also thinking about things I want to do in Memphis and nonprofit organizations that I want to start. So those thoughts are kind of going through my head as well. But being an officer in our military, that's my focus. I'm helping out coaching here, and I'll probably try to do that at every duty station I go to, find a high school to help out with. And then I'm going to speak when I have the time, you know, go speak to different colleges, businesses, kids, whatever it might be. So that's what this chapter is looking like, kind of just building the platform some more so that when the military chapter is over, it's like it's just taking off from there. And hopefully I set myself up the right way.
Did that thought about becoming president start back when you heard Barack Obama back in 2008 speak?
Yeah. So when I was at PDS, we watched his inauguration. And I said, wow, you know, I'm looking around and probably like 10, 15 Black kids. And this is like the whole school. It might have been more than that. I'm just thinking about what I remember seeing. And I look up at the screen and I see a Black man being sworn in to be president of our country. I'm like, man, that's powerful. You know, I can be anything I want to be. And then just from there, I mean, I started getting in all these leadership roles. I was president of my class at Lausanne, and then people started calling me Prez. And I got the Navy. I became president of my class, and the Prez name just took off from there even more. And I majored in political science. And it's like, that's where, change happens at every level of government. But I think it's very important to have a good president, having a good leader as a president with good character, good morals, because that's what the country follows. That's what the country gravitates towards. So it's still, you know what I'm saying? It's still on my vision board. If it happens, it happens. Well, of course, I got to start lining things up
right.
as I get older to make sure things are going in that direction. But I think the military experience is definitely going to help that out. And then after the military, that next step will dictate whether or not I still go towards that or if I deviate and go towards something else. But it's still on the board for sure.
Awesome. What are the most important lessons that you've learned in life?
Number one, and a lot of people hear me say this all the time, and if they're listening, they probably know what I'm about to say, is get comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where you're going to experience the most growth in life. And it's not easy. Nobody likes to feel uncomfortable, but in those moments, you find out so much about yourself. I think about when my mom sent me to private school when I was just a little kid going into second grade, and I felt uncomfortable being the only kid that looked like me, having a speech impediment and a little stuttering issue that some of the kids would poke fun of. It was hard, but it also made me grow, and it also developed my mindset in a way where it was like, I'm not going to let my skin color define me. I'm not going to let where I come from define me. Like, I'm capable of performing as the same level, if not better, than anybody else around me. And that just kept sticking with me at every level, especially at the Naval Academy, because there was a lot of uncomfortable situations up there. But it was that mindset was able to help me find the silver lining to every dark cloud that I had up there. Number two, I would say learn to embrace adversity. And that's kind of like to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because everybody experiences opposition in their lives. It's just how you choose to respond to it. And it can either be a roadblock and a wall that you just never get around and never go over, or it can just be something that propels you forward. And I think adversity is a fertilizer for growth. And when you learn to embrace that, you'll start to see that challenges, you expect them, you welcome them, and you're not discouraged when you face a challenge, because you know that there's something greater because of it. And so I think that mindset helps as well. And then lastly, I would say control the controllables. Always choose to control what you can in life, because it's so much that's out of our control. You can't control if somebody cuts you off in traffic. You can't control if the bus is late. You can't control if your boss decides to fire you. You can't control the weather. You know, it's so many things that you can't control, but you can always control your attitude. You can always control your effort. You can always control the love that you give to other people, you know. And when you start focusing on what you do have control over, the things that you don't have control over get minimized, and you don't even give that stuff your energy. Like, I hear people complain about stuff all the time that they could never change. And I'm just like, why? Why would you waste your time complaining about something that you literally have no power to change? And so I think if people learn how to control what they can control, it'll help them out a lot. But I think another lesson that I've learned personally is just the importance of having faith in God, because that's what drives me every single day, knowing that there's somebody upstairs that has an ultimate plan for me, and that it's to prosper me and not to harm me, and that he's trusted me with a gift, and now I have to use my gift to help bring other people closer to him, so that they can see the same light that I see, and create a purpose for their life. So I would say those three lessons, and then that's my ultimate lesson right there, is the importance of having faith in God.
How can people find you and follow you on social media?
So I'm at CK3 The Thrill on all social media. That's CK number 3 The Thrill, THRILL. That's Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Facebook is just my name if you want to add me as a friend. But that's all. I've tried to change my Instagram handle, but now since I'm verified, I can't change it. And that's annoying, because I definitely want to change it. I'm going to have to try to call them, but that's my handle right now.
Awesome. You know, Cameron, I'd heard so many great things about you, from Greg Graber, and I can tell you wholeheartedly that you didn't disappoint today.
No, I appreciate you.
You have an amazing, inspiring story, and you're really a class act. And, I know that you're a busy guy, and I appreciate you taking the time, to talk to me today. And I'd love to definitely have you back again sometime down the road.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I appreciate you for having me, man. I've enjoyed it. Like I feel refreshed after this podcast. I love talking with people like you, and I love everything that you're doing. And keep spreading the good light. The placing the positivity on the good things in Memphis is what we need, and that's what you do. And it's not underappreciated for sure. I appreciate it, so I don't take that lightly.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
But yeah, most definitely.
All right, thanks, buddy.